can enter. I think it's just for the parking lot. Not sure right there. I just saw 3 huge bucks. Man, there's a lot of bugs out here today, man. But I just saw 3 huge bugs, and I mean, they were huge. And we all just stared at each other like the Spider-Man meme. It was kind of funny. But as soon as I started pulling out my camera, they all dipped. So it's crazy how their senses work. They don't want to be spotted. Every time I see these planes, I think of Jurassic Park. All right, guys, let's chat. I got something that I really just want to express. And I was going to express it while I was on the trails hiking, but I figured that would be the perfect time to just be present and just absorb all the healing that I need from the forest and just come over here and just chat with you guys later on, which I'm doing now. So I just recently quit my job. To give you a little bit more detail, on June 30th, I experienced something that made me extremely uncomfortable. And I believe there was racism behind it. Man, that bird has some huge wings. Wow. Anyway, sidetracked. Now, I only had this job for 2 weeks. This is something that came in out of nowhere after months of looking for something solid, you know? Yeah. It's just crazy to me how this happens. But anyway, so obviously I took the job, right? I'm excited, got the ball rolling, had plans for this job. This is going to be my last job here in Michigan until I move on to Colorado, not California, Colorado, all of that. Plans, everything. Get a new car, the works, right? So, like I said, June 30th comes along and we're going door to door. It was a canvassing job. We're going door to door and we're in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Now, I'm already aware that there are certain areas in Michigan that just don't like people of color. And it's crazy that racism is still a thing in 2026. But then again, it wasn't that long ago our grandparents experienced segregation, right? So, but still, the minds of people, most definitely the younger generation. Anyway, so it's a group of us, and I am the only, well, not the only person of color, but the only Black and Native person that's in the group of canvassers. It was a good like 7 or 8 of us, and we're all riding in a van, and we get separated into different neighborhoods to do our job, right? So we do that. I'm thinking nothing of it. You know, it's been a good day so far. You know, everyone is friendly and stuff, but also have to remember people can be friendly to your face and then be evil behind your back. So I think that's what happened. I go door to door and I finish a neighborhood. I'm not even in that neighborhood for a good 10 minutes, but it was only a couple of houses. So Sorry, the ambulance started going off. I had to cut that off. But anyway, so I'm doing my thing in the neighborhood, going door to door. Only a couple of houses that's there. And so I'm not even there for 10, 15 minutes. And as soon as I leave the neighborhood, I see the cops. They start off with one cop car. It was an SUV. Just comes up on me. Now, I know how to handle myself in situations like that, but it threw me off guard because it's like, okay. And the cop asked, he wasn't, aggressive or anything like that. He was pretty chill, but he was also firm because apparently someone called the cops on me, which I will get to that in a second. And he asked, what am I doing? Now I'm in full work uniform. I got my badge, got the work shirt, all of that, right? So I told him, hey, I work with blah, blah, blah. And I'm just here, doing my job, going door to door and stuff like that. And, he understood. He got it. We had a conversation and everything. So he asked for my ID. I gave him my ID. And this is when the second cop car comes in. Now, this had 2 cops that was in that one. So I got 3 cops with me in total, right? Like I said, everything was chill with the cops. The cops are not the problem here. But then again, they could have been. So I asked the second cop while the first cop was checking my ID. And I asked him, I was just like, so did someone end up calling the cops on me? And he said straight up to my face, unfortunately, yes, they said the call came in saying that there is a suspicious man going door to door, looking in windows, all that other stuff. And then I'm not looking in windows, right? I'm just going to the door. No one answers. I leave the flyer and go about my day, right? So I'm like, oh, interesting, And I told him, I was just like, I'm not looking in any windows. I'm just telling him what I'm doing. And he understood, not everything like that. And first cop comes back, hands me my ID, and he was just like, this is what you're doing. You need a license or a permit. To come around and do all that stuff. And I looked at him. I was just like, what do you mean a permit? And this is where my job comes into play, right? That made me even more uncomfortable and unprepared. He said, yeah, there are certain areas out here where you need a permit. But I looked, I was just like, I don't think the permit was the issue here. But anyway, I listened, to all of that and everything. And so I told him, I was just like, I've only been on this job for about like 2 weeks, and they never mentioned anywhere about canvassing and having a permit to go to certain areas and all this other stuff. And so the cop understood, he seemed, like I said, they were all chill and stuff like that, and they let me go. But he said, like, usually this will cause you to get a ticket, and so in extreme cases get arrested and everything. But since you didn't know, we'll let you go. You seem cool. You cooperated. We'll go about your day. But however, you got to call your boss, tell them to pick you up, or whoever you drove with come and pick you up and call it a day in this area. So I did. Right. Shook their hands. That's it. Now I called my boss at the time, and I told him what happened. And you know what his answer was? He laughed and said, oh, don't worry about it. We'll just pay for it. Okay. I'm glad you would pay for it, but if things got extreme, most definitely in an area that is considered racist, would you pay for my funeral? Would you pay for bond out of jail? All this other stuff? What do you mean you would just pay for it? And I was heated. He knew I was heated, but I let it go. I was quiet the rest of the day. And I finished out the next day. But after realizing that this job does not care about my safety, that this could have been as worst. And of course, some people could say, oh, you're over exaggerating it. How do you know it was a racist situation? All this other stuff. And this is another thing why I think it was racist. Like I said, I'm not necessarily the only person of color. There's 2 other Indian guys that was with me. But however, I was the only one out of the whole group that got the cops called on them. So make that make sense. Most definitely in an area that's close to Howell, Michigan, which is where the KKK headquarters is. There's so many factors in it that just makes it seem like, oh, this was a racist moment. And I'm missing something here. Oh, my leg is going to sleep. Let me switch up. And while I was going door to door, there was a lady who gave me the whole rundown of the neighborhood. And she told me, she didn't say that, they were, racist or anything like that. However, but she told me to be careful to go to certain homes, because people are weird. And she was nice. Her dog came out, seemed aggressive at first, but then, started like licking all over me, jumping all over me, all that other stuff, which was cool. So I was talking to her for a couple of minutes. And, but yeah, so she gave me that warning, which was so weird. So I didn't think anything of it until like the cops came. I'm just like, oh, wow, this is probably what she meant. This is probably what she meant. So, like I said, the next day I went to work, I finished it. And I told him, I was just like, because what happened the other day, I am not risking my safety for a job that does not care about my safety. Most definitely for some business, I'm not risking it. My life is worth more than this job. And with everything that's going on around here, and of course there's a lot of people, and I hate to put this on this channel, but this is the reality of someone that is Afro-Indigenous, a person of color. I literally hate to put this on this channel, but my life is worth more than that job. And like I said, with the lack of care they expressed, I can't continue to work for something like that. And it puts so many things in perspective for me. And it's sad that this is a reality for most people, that this is the world that we live in. Why can't people that don't look like me, even people that look like me, if you were just racist in general, why do you got to be like that? When you understand that the person that does not look like you is no different than you? When you realize that we are all human beings? I don't get it. I really just don't get the mentality of racist people. And with the extreme to cause harm, now this didn't cause harm to me. I don't think that was their intention, but they did call the cops, and you never know what could have happened. I am thankful that I am still here today. I am thankful that I know how to hold myself, not necessarily hold myself, but I know how to keep my composure and handle myself well with the cops. But every day, there are other people that look like me that don't get to live another day, because someone that don't look like them hates them because the color of their skin. I swear it is a disease in the minds of racist people. I don't get it. Do better. But long story short, I quit the job. I deserve so much better. And now the quest is on to find something that can help me not necessarily just feel safe, but help me get the ball rolling, man. Michigan is just terrible when it comes to finding jobs, dude. And you would think that it's Motor City. Everybody got opportunities here. Yeah, okay. But anyway, that's going to be it of this video. I was just going to keep it short. Express that. And if you are someone out there that is of color or just struggling out there against someone who is racist, keep going. Ignore the hate. Just keep being you. Shine your light. Eventually, we'll get to a world where everyone loves everybody. All this hate, all this death, all because of different skin tones. We will get there one day. We will. Guys, have a good one. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and join the journey with Lewanu. Peace.